a very good morning from Valencia. So if you were to ask me what's the best camera in the world, my answer is always the same. It's this iPhone. Because the iPhone is the only camera that is always with you. Now you can have a point and shoot like a Ricoh, you can have a little compact camera from 2003, but all these cameras are still extra pieces of tech that come with you. The iPhone, for many people, is the only camera that actually goes into the toilet with them when they go to do what they need to do. So because of that, it naturally makes it the best camera, because as we know, the best camera is the one that's always with you. However, I have never actually used this phone in anger for photography. By that I mean I've never used it as my main camera. It's always on me as a second or a third backup. And I thought it's time to put my mouth where my money where my mouth is, and go on a dedicated photography trip using only the iPhone as my camera. All the vlogging footage like this is filmed on my little action camera. The static video clips that you would see, such as this, are filmed on the native app in ProRes and then color graded, and all the photography is done using the Leica LUX app. One important thing that I need to say is, because this video is sponsored by Leica, this would not be a review of the app, because you can't really review a product that you've been paid to promote. Instead, think of this as a showcase of what types of images you can get with this app, and a bit of an overview as well. Now, in theory, a phone is all you need to shoot. However, there are a few key accessories which will greatly improve your life, and one of those accessories is actually the reason I still have my phone with me today. So the first one's a case, pretty obvious. These phones are very slippery, and it takes one little drop, you've got a cracked screen, and it's just not a very fun experience. Plus, because they're so slippery, you need something firm to hold on to, so a case, ideally one that's quite not sticky but grippy, is important. Also, a wrist strap, in my opinion, is essential. So I've got just a little cheap adapter that goes between the case and the phone, and you can plug any wrist strap in. I just have a Peak Design, same one that I use for my cameras, and this accessory is the very reason I still have my phone, because I nearly had it snatched yesterday. So these are the bare minimum, in my opinion, in order to improve your photography experience drastically. However, there are two more accessories that I believe will add value. They certainly do to me. The first one is this magnetic back, which allows for filter placement. So if you're going to be shooting a lot of video and you want to control the exposure, especially on a sunny day like this, you can add an ND filter. It's the same one that I use for my cameras, 67mm. I just got it on Amazon. It's a cheap one, does the job. And the second accessory is the Leica grip. Now, I'll talk more about it later in the video, but effectively it's a magnetic attachment, goes on the back of the phone. I don't have it with me today because today's a video day for me. However, it turns your phone into a more ergonomic, camera-like setup, and adds a bit more. I forgot what. Adds a little bit more functionality to the overall setup. But as I've said, I'll mention that in a bit. So let's start with the positives of shooting on the phone. The most obvious one is always with you, we've covered that. The second one is minimalism. Now, even though I am quite a minimal photographer, I only really travel with a body and a lens, or maybe a couple of lenses, or maybe a fixed body with a lens. I don't travel with a big backpack. It's still extra gear that I need to carry with me. Add batteries, accessories, and a bunch of other stuff, and then before you know it, you have quite a bit of kit to travel with. Whereas with a phone, it's just the phone. You're already going to have it on you. It's not an extra thing that you have to bring. And you can put it in your pocket. So the amount of stuff you bring with you is actually noticeably less. And if you're like me and you like to travel light, I don't know, this makes a great case for the ideal camera for minimal travel. The next positive is access. I've lost count of how many times I would be shooting in a particular location, like a museum or a monument or a public place, anything like that, and a security guard will come up to me and would say, "Excuse me sir, you're not allowed to use your camera here, however you can shoot on your phone if you wish." When I ask why, the answer usually revolves around its policy with no further explanation. Even though the image quality on this thing can compete with many cameras, it is what it is. The next positive is blending in. When you're out shooting with a camera, people always look at you. In some countries, places more than others, but generally speaking, if you walk around in a crowded area like a market or whatever with a proper camera, especially if it's a big one, people will tend to look at you. Of course, this really depends as well on your body language, but for the most part, you can stick out a bit with a camera, especially if you're using the viewfinder. With a phone, you just look like a tourist, you know? If you're walking around like this, filming or taking photos, you look like you could be FaceTiming someone, I don't know. And generally speaking, no one bats an eyelid because everyone is glued to these phones these days. So you just look like everyone else. Workflow. This is actually one surprising aspect of using the phone. It's the fact that you can go from shooting to editing to backing up to sharing online in a matter of minutes. You know, like with a camera, you take your photos, you then wait till you get home, you transfer them, you do this, you go through Lightroom, you export them, you send them back to your phone to publish them. It's a whole process. I'm not saying the process is bad. I enjoy the process, but it's still a process. Whereas with a phone, everything happens instantly. And I find myself, like now I'm walking around shooting, in about an hour, I'll find a cafe, sit down, get a coffee, and about 30-45 minutes of playing around with the phone, and I've got all my photos edited, culled, and backed up to Lightroom Cloud instantly. And the final positive, especially if you have a phone from the last few years, is image quality. If you go back to 2010, perhaps the photos would look a little blurry and crap. These days, however, phones can take photos which rival those of bigger cameras. So, in my opinion, that's a huge positive to have such image quality in your pocket. It's a bit windy, hope you can hear me.
This one is a bit of a shade, and this is a beautiful thing.
Now, it's not all positive, and there are definitely some major downsides to shooting with a phone. By far the biggest one is the fact that this is not just your camera. This is your camera, this is your phone, this is your bank account, this is your boarding pass. This is pretty much the one device that if you lose or get stolen could really screw up your day, your week, or even your entire trip. And when I'm out with this in my hand, I am so conscious of that it really puts a bit of a grey cloud above me when it comes to my experience with shooting with this. Because even if I'm out with a Leica, the Q343 that I have, and I drop it, it gets stolen, it gets lost, whatever. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's even more painful if it has photos on it that I will never get back, but ultimately it doesn't matter because it will not ruin my day outside of a big financial loss and a loss of some photos. Whereas if this gets nicked, damaged or whatever, I might not be able to get back into my hotel. I literally have an app on this that gets me into my hotel here. So if this goes, so does my way of getting home. My boarding pass is on here. So straight away, you have a lot to lose, not just the camera. And that really affects how you shoot and how liberal you are with using this for photography, especially if you are in a city. The second reason I really dislike shooting on the phone is because I really dislike being on the phone. I don't know about you, but I think everyone is just glued to these things all the time. And when I'm out shooting, the phone's always in my hand because the camera would always be in my hand. And I feel like I'm constantly on my phone. And I just want to put it in my bag. Like normally, I'll have my camera around my neck or in my hand. The phone will be buried in my bag. If I need maps, if I need to check notifications, I use my Apple Watch so that I don't need to use this phone. And now I feel like I'm always on it. I feel like it's just always there. And I don't know, it's starting to get a little bit annoying. Not to mention that when I am holding it, it doesn't take very much to go from shooting to checking the news, to refreshing my emails, to, I don't know, doing anything which is not productive at the time. And my screen time has gone up considerably, not only because of the photography apps and the editing, but also social media, like going on random websites sounds so dodgy, doesn't it? But basically using this phone. The screen time on average has gone up considerably, which is something that at least for me is not great. So how can I summarize this for you in a tangible 2-minute speech, hopefully 2 minutes? So do I still believe that this is the best camera in the world? Without a shadow of a doubt, yes. This is the best camera in the world because it's always on you, it's always ready to go, and you can create at any moment as long as the phone is with you, which is 99% of time. In terms of how it makes you feel, that's a different topic, because I have never felt so disconnected from photography as when was shooting with the phone. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy shooting. No, I love photography, and I enjoyed taking photos with the phone. However, it just didn't feel as connected, as involved compared to when I'm shooting with any camera for that matter. I would also like to say that I feel that when this is with me, I am not as present. And now with a camera, I feel more present, I feel more attentive. I feel like I am very much in the moment. Whereas with a phone, I'm always a swipe away from reading the news and getting depressed, or I don't know, just general crap that you get with the internet these days. So I've always felt a bit more distracted with this. Now, if you were to say to me, you can only shoot on an iPhone, but you get to travel the world, you get to go to anywhere you want for photography, or you can pick your dream camera, you can pick any camera setup, no matter the cost, but you have to stay in London, the answer would always be iPhone and get out there, because ultimately, whilst shooting in the same place over and over again will make you a better photographer, nothing will improve or inspire you like getting out there into the world, seeing new things, experiencing new things. And for that, I would still rather shoot with a phone and be out there than be stuck in one place. In terms of my relationship with the phone going forward, I would use this more often, I would say, because it's very capable. But as I've maybe mentioned earlier, for me, this is like a portable scanner that I use to capture things that I would want to look at in 30, 40 years time and reminisce. I'm not going to reminisce over a photo of a random person in the street that I don't know walking through a patch of light, my arm has gone dead. But I will be reminiscing some random sticker that I saw, or I don't know, a random cartoon drawing on the side of a bin somewhere, right? Because these are the things that me and my missus, when we travel, or me and my family, friends, whatever, these are the things that you remember, you know? So the phone will still play a very crucial role in my photography life. However, I would say it'll be more of a capture role and a memory preservation role rather than a creative, gone French there, creative, artistic role. Yeah, a bit longer than 2 minutes actually. Okay, recording. Hello from the corner of the hotel room. I've managed to mount the camera on a lampshade and I'm using this as a little diffuser. Seems to work, but anyway, let's now talk about the app and the grip. So there are two parts to this. You've got the app itself and you've got the grip. You don't need the grip to use the app, but it does add new functionality and just a new way to shoot with the phone. So let's start with the grip first. It's basically a magnetic attachment, goes on the back of your phone. You switch it on, you pair it via Bluetooth, and the idea is that you then can use your phone as more of a like ergonomic camera. Now, is it ergonomic? Yes, it's definitely more ergonomic. However, I would strongly recommend to use a wrist strap that's attached to the phone itself and not to the grip. Because if it's attached to the grip, I mean, the magnets are very strong, but it's still a magnet, right? You know, you can easily knock it, you can easily do something which might cause an issue. However, if you have something attached to the actual phone, it gives you a lot of peace of mind. When it is attached, it is pretty good actually. You've got your shutter there, you've got your two custom buttons, you've got your dial, and you even have a little screw at the bottom if you want to put it on a tripod or add another accessory, etc. Charge it via USB-C.
It lasts for around 1,000 photos or something like that, but for me it lasted, a few days at least, so not an issue there. What's nice as well is if you program the Leica LUX app to the camera control button, if you have a newer iPhone, you can basically just launch the app straight like this, and then you're ready to shoot. You can customize the buttons, especially the function buttons. So I have mine set to toggle through the different lenses, and that actually saves so much time, and it's incredibly intuitive compared to doing it on the screen. The actual dial there can be used for exposure adjustment, as well as changing the Leica LUX simulations. But that's really all there is to it. You've got a 2-stage shutter, so you can half press it to lock the exposure, the focus, press it all the way to take the photo. And that's it. I mean, this is built quite well, which you'd expect for a Leica product, but that's the grip. Is it essential? The short answer is no. I don't think it's essential, and it's not gonna get you anything that the app on its own can't get in terms of the images. It just adds a slightly different way to use your phone for photography. And if you only use your phone and you don't own a camera, then I think it's a worthwhile thing. It just makes the experience a little bit more fun. So that's the grip. Now let's talk about the app. The app has 2 distinct use cases, and more importantly, it has 2 different kind of personalities in terms of how you would go about using this app for photography. So the first side of the app is called the photo mode, and that is a general photography app. It doesn't do anything particularly unique compared to all the other apps out there. It just works. It's a very minimal, simple approach. You have full manual control if you want it. You have full automatic control. You can swipe through the default iPhone lenses, and it just does what it says on the tin. It takes raw photos and it works. That is the part of the app that I would use if I want to take raw photos and if I just want to use the phone as a phone camera. However, if I'm completely honest with you, having used this for the last few days, I don't think that is the selling point of the app, nor do I think that is the strongest part of the app. In my opinion, what makes this app unique and what makes it worthwhile over all of the other apps in the App Store is that you have the aperture mode, which is a JPEG only mode. However, it adds a very unique spin on using your phone that I have personally not seen anywhere else. And if you're a Leica user, then it would feel very familiar. And I think this is what they're going for. The target market here are people who might have Leica cameras and they want something that feels a bit more familiar, but on a phone for instances where they might not have their camera on them. So what is the aperture priority mode? The primary selling point is that it utilizes the portrait photography feature of the iPhone to simulate different Leica lenses starting from like 25, 26mm going up to all the way 130. So you don't get the 24 or the 2 times or the 3 times or the 4 times lens that you would in the default app or in the photography mode. Instead, you're shooting using Leica's lens profiles for physical lenses that already exist. So whether it's a 35, it's a 40, 50, and you can use these lenses and create an image that simulates you using those lenses. And in my opinion, I think it's a very fun spin on the iPhone camera that I've just not seen before. On top of that, you have the Leica LUX. These are the same ones you would get in a Leica camera, and effectively they are like your JPEG profiles with Leica's colors. You don't have that much adjustment to the color and the look itself. You can adjust the intensity, but you can also adjust how much grain you get. So having used this now with the lenses and the Leica LUX, to me, this is what this app is about, and it creates for a very fun kind of instant point and shoot experience, which results in really nice photos that you don't have to edit, that have a look to them, that have a feel to them, and it's perfect for the iPhone as a documenting, memory preserving device. It is very nice to just walk around and take these photos knowing that I won't need to edit them when I get back, perhaps a little crop or straighten the lines or maybe slight touch on the exposure or something like that, but for the most part they're ready to go straight out of camera. Alright, well that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. A very quick summary. So am I happy with this experiment? Yes, I'm glad I've done it, because for me the main takeaway here is that the phone is a fantastic camera, but it serves a very niche role within my whole photography workflow. It's still important to me, I will still use it, but the role of the phone camera is now very clear to me, which is going to be, as I've said earlier in the video, a bit like a scanner to just scan these random little moments. But the biggest difference with how I use the phone now compared to before this trip is that before I would use it on the full RAW 48 megapixel, just get the best out of it. Whereas now, I think I'm going to treat it more like a disposable film camera. So perhaps I will carry on only shooting with these Leica LUX or various film simulations and not care too much about the image itself, but more so take random snapshots and compile them into a folder that I can look at in 20-30 years. So that would be my approach going forward with the iPhone. Okay, that is all. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you do have any questions, please write them down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.